Assalamu alaikum. With Allah's name, the merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer, the praise and glory belongs to Almighty God Allah, the Lord of all systems of knowledge. We give thanks and praise to Allah for this life He has given us and for the example that He has given us as to how we should live this life. We thank Him for the Prophet Muhammad, that praise, that the peace and the blessings be upon him. Dear beloved believers, Assalamu alaikum. Dear believers, we want to, I've been, teaching here for the last 3 years or so, and I want to go a little bit further into what we talked on last week. And it is so very important. We live in a life and death situation. And when I say a life and death situation, I'm talking about the life of our country, the life of our nation, you see. And we talked about the individual responsibility of all of us. The name of this program is Government of the People, for the people, and by the people. That does not mean that we relinquish our individual responsibilities and put them in the hands of political leaders and trust them to look out for our interests. Because the fact is that not only do our taxes pay their salaries, but there are people who are called lobbyists. They come in offering them big time bucks. They offer them money and they accept the money to look out for their interests. And the interest of the lobbyists is not all the time for the benefit of the people who elected our political representative to position. And we have to understand that. Our political representative will use the kind of language that we want them to use in order to get our vote. And this has been done time and time again. This ain't the first time. It's been done by Republicans and it's been done by Democrats. So this is not a partisan issue. This is not a partisan issue. This is an issue where we are trying to get the people, the local people, the citizens to understand that government is in your hands. Government is in your hands. It is your responsibility. The government is supposed to do what you sent them to office to do. It's just that you have to have more of a hands-on type effort now. You see. We have been so used to electing people to office and then we sit back in our easy chair and expect them to do our bidding. But that's not the reality, dear beloved brothers and sisters. We as a people, the American citizenship, and this goes way far beyond racial and ethnic lines. This ain't got nothing to do with black, white, red, yellow, brown. It doesn't matter. The only thing our political leaders understand, the only color that they understand is green. And that's it. The only color they understand is green. Referring to finance, referring to money. And they can easily be bought off. I was looking at our president, President Trump, when he was in Saudi Arabia a couple weeks ago with the Saudis. And I'm looking at this man. Now look, don't get me wrong, I am not a Trump basher. So this is far beyond him as an individual. We're talking about the state of our country right now. He just happened to be the one who's representing it. I didn't even like Biden. Didn't care too much for Obama. You see. But here's the point I'm trying to make. Here we see our president over in Saudi Arabia. He was just like a little child, walking around. Ain't never been, we think he has money. But he was over there where the gold and the oil is, where the big money is. Walking around, looking around, all pointing and going on just like a little child. Never been around so much money. And then they promised to give him an airplane, just like a little child. Mommy, I want that airplane. I want that airplane. But son, the airplane is against it's a security risk for the country. I don't care, Mama. I want that airplane. That's the attitude. What kind of leadership is that? Again, let me remind you, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about anybody who's in that seat, anybody who's in that position. And these are things that you have to consider. You have to consider this. Oh, but he appointed judges that's going to get rid of abortion. No, getting rid of abortion takes place in the family. How you teach your children to conduct themselves morally and mentally with integrity. That's the answer to the abortion problem. Life begins, when the sperm is released into the female. That sperm is swimming among millions and millions and millions of other sperm trying to make it to the egg so that it can be fertilized. That's life. That ain't no dead entity. That shows you, and the one that makes it to the egg, that fertilizes the egg, that's the one who was born. So how you gonna tell me life begins at a certain time? No, life begins how God intended for life to begin. And it's not up to man to decide who can have an abortion or not. That's why, number one, that's between the person and their God. God is gonna take care of that. You can't legislate a law for that because soon you'll be under martial law. So the answer to that is that we have to bring the society back from the brink of worshiping sex as a god. We have made sex the god. Everything you see is based on sex. So the answer to the abortion problem is reinstate the moral principle, the moral foundation which begins in the home. And do it in such a way that your sons and your daughters won't be afraid to come to you and tell you that they have made a mistake. That's the answer. That's the answer. But our politicians will make it a political issue so that they can use it to encourage your vote, get them into office, and then they no longer care about you. And you know I'm telling the truth. Those people who voted, those Maga people, I'm talking about the Maga people, make America great again. Do you think that when you go to Walmart and I go to Walmart, they're going to charge me $1 and charge you 50 cents? No. They're going to charge you the same thing they charge me. And why? Because the person you put in office encouraged the inflated prices that we are now held prisoner under. And you got to pay like everybody else. Do you think that when, if they vote, and I pray they don't, that they vote for the big, beautiful bill? Do you know what else that bill contains? Not only does it is there a possibility that you will not receive medical coverage, which is, they got third world countries in Africa, in Egypt, and a lot of other, they get the medical care is free. And we're the hardest working people on the planet. The only people getting medical care free here is the people you put into political position. When they retire, they still get their medical care. When you retire, you got to pay a high price insurance bill. You better study this bill and call your senator, your congressman, and tell them that you don't want it, because you certainly will suffer behind it. It also contains stuff like the president don't have to listen to the Supreme Court. They don't have to honor the decision that the judges pass down. They, you can already see, here's a man out here releasing criminals on the street. Criminals that have had a fair trial, releasing criminals on the street. No respect for the rule of law. That ain't what you voted for. That is not what you voted for. It is up to the American citizens, everybody who lives under this democracy. America is the greatest country on the planet. You see, there was a time when you had Russia and America, the two superpowers. But America was founded under the name of God, one nation under God, while Russia was practicing communism and all that other madness over there. Who do you see still standing today? Not because of the strength of America, because God knows back in the day, America had no moral strength with all of the lynching and the murders that she had. But solely because she stood on the principle of one nation under God, did God allow America to stand. Now you got people in the White House trying to put us in the same situation that brought Russia down. You need to open up your eyes and look at what's happening. And I'm not talking about any one particular person, but if it was somebody else in office, I'd be saying the same thing. So don't get mad at me. Don't hate me, hate the game. Hate the game. It ain't me. Hate the game. I didn't create this game. God says here in the Holy Quran, God tells us in the Holy Quran, he says this in chapter 90. He said this in the 4th verse. Verily we have created man into toil and struggle. Verily we have created man into toil and struggle. What is that saying to us? The toil and struggle, we're not talking about the toil and the struggle, the obstacles that we run into on a daily basis. We're talking about the toil and struggle that goes on within the heart, within the spirit, within the soul. That's the struggle. That is the most serious struggle any individual can have, to toil and to struggle with the demons that we find locked up in our hearts, that causes us to hate another person based on skin color, based on racial ethnicity. That's the toil. That's the struggle. The struggle based on greed. You're going to do your fellow man wrong because you are coveting what your fellow man has. You want to use all kinds of excuses because you greedy. You want it all for yourself. The toil and the struggle that goes on in him. That's the struggle. And why is that going on? It's so that you can prove yourself worthy before Almighty God Allah. Anybody can see these little obstacles that we run into on a daily basis, but this is the biggest obstacle right here. Right here. When your grandparents, when your parents tell you to not like somebody based on the color of their skin, and you grow up with that disease written idea in your mind, and you see somebody walking down the street and you don't even speak, you don't even say anything to them because they're of a different race than you are. That's the struggle. If you don't overcome that, I don't care how many times you go to church. I don't care how many prayers you make. You got to enter into the kingdom by what God, the rule and the regulation that God has prescribed. You will not take that mess to heaven with you. And then in verse 5, thinketh he that none has power over him? Thinketh he that none beholds him? Then it says, we have shown him the two highways. We have shown him the two highways. You're struggling, you're toiling with this inward war, this jihad that's going on inside you. You're struggling with that. You're trying to bring out the negativity that's within you so that you can become a service to Almighty God. You can't worship man. Man got to face his responsibility. He got to kneel before God just like you do. Just like you. You're going to have to come before God as a servant. You see. And we have shown him the two highways, but he has made no haste on the path that is steep. God has given us two highways for us to take. He has given us two directions. The smooth highway and the highway that is steep. But he said he has made no haste on the highway that is steep. This is Suriname, Balad, the city that I'm talking about in the Holy Quran. Those of you who got a Quran, you should order you one. It's the same thing as the Bible. If you understand it. You got to understand it though. He has made no haste on the highway that is steep. What is the highway that is steep? I used to hear these old Christian gospels saying climbing up the rough side of the mountain or going through the way that is riddled with obstacles. Now what that is talking about, it's not talking about climbing up a physical mountain. It's talking about overcoming the mountain of moral, mental, and spiritual diseases that you have within your own human makeup. That's what that is talking about. That's what it means when it says climbing up the rough side of the mountain. By giving up those negative images, giving up those negative beliefs that have been embedded in your soul, embedded in your spirit, so that you can become a true servant of God. That's the rough side of the mountain. But no, we don't do that. We take the smooth way out. Oh, I'm going to close the border. I ain't going to let the immigrants in. Aren't we supposed to look after those who are less fortunate than us? The people come to the border. They say, we are running from thugs, we're running from drug dealers, we're running because we're being kidnapped and we're being slaughtered and we're being murdered. Well, I'm closing the door to you. You can't come over here. I'm not advocating for that. Here's what I'm advocating for. Get rid of the reason that they have to flee their country. We give billions and trillions of dollars to people who serve this country no good purpose. Israel ain't nothing but a welfare country. We're sending trillions and trillions of dollars over there, and they're killing innocent people. Same thing with Egypt, Ukraine. But now we have people, we know that they're good people. We know that they're built because they've come over here and built. Haitians have come over here and built businesses and paid taxes. Mexicans have come over here and built businesses and paid taxes. They would do the same thing in their country. They don't have to come over here to America. If we invest the money that we invest in these other countries that's killing and slaughtering innocent people, if we take that money and reroute it to people who will build businesses in their own country, you won't have no more fentanyl problem. You won't have no more immigrant border problem. That's how you deal with the border problem. You reevaluate the interest and the people you're dealing with. That's the answer. I have just given you the answer to both the immigration and the abortion problem. All you got to do is roll it around in your mental computer and see if it makes sense to you. Of course, there's more go to it in detail, but you need to contact your senators and tell them to turn thumbs down on this big, beautiful bill, because it is going to affect you directly. Your children, your mothers, your fathers, your grandfathers, it's going to affect you directly. And you need to tell your governor that he has to raise the minimal income level of the people who need Medicare, who need Medicaid. $1,200, if you make $1,200 a month, I mean, that is not a ground floor. That is not a level for people to be able, because some people are just making that barely. We talked about that last week. I ain't even talking about it no more. So that's the steep side. That is the steep path. We have to make haste on climbing up the steep path. We have to make haste and giving food to the ones who are in the day of deprivation, giving food to those who are starving, giving food to the needy. This is the Holy Quran. It's the same thing in the Holy Bible. The story of the Good Samaritan, it's the same thing. So I'm not teaching you something that you don't already know. You see, we have to get serious about this government. And trust me on this when I say this. The Maga people are not the people of Donald Trump. The people of Donald Trump is the rich folk. The rich folk. Every time you see this man, he's hanging out with cryptocurrency, people who are making millions and billions of dollars. The Elon Musk, and he ain't hanging out with the regular people. You don't see him out hanging unless he's on the campaign trail. He have, all of us, we have been bamboozled, We have had the wool pulled over our eyes. The people who put him in the office was not you. The people who put him in the office was the same one who got him out of trouble. How in the world is a man going to be faced with imminent jail time? All of a sudden, all of the charges are dropped just like that, and then you get into the office of the presidency. Explain that to me. Think about it. Explain that to me. You don't want to face it. But that's the toil and struggle that you have to deal with. You have to get these false realities out of your head, out of your thinking. And you got to think for the whole of the people. Your family, my family, we all in this together. And please, people, I am one of you. We all in this together. You know, y'all make more money than me. You know, I don't make a lot of money. You see. But God has given me this responsibility that I'm giving you right now. And I can't tell you anything else but the truth. That's all I can say. I can't say anything false. And what I tell you can be proven. All you got to do, you may not like it, but truth is bitter. Truth is not sweet all the time. Truth is a bitter pill to swallow. But the point I'm trying to make is that it is the truth. And Jesus Christ says, know ye the truth, and the truth will set you free. So we are in that time in America that we have to come together as American citizens, all of us. And we have to pick a candidate from among ourselves. And we have to tell this candidate, like I told you last week, tell this candidate, we don't care how much money the political PACs give this particular candidate of theirs, we gonna put you in the office. We don't care if you ain't got but $50 to campaign with. We gonna vote for you. That's how you do that. And everybody gotta come together for that. That's how you make sure you get your candidate into office. And that includes the state and the federal government and the local government. You got to get people who represent the interests of all the people, because what's good for me is also good for you. You see. I like jazz, you like country. Well, I like both of them. I like both of them. Especially that song by Kenny Chesney, There Goes My Life. That is a great, great, great song, you know. But I also like Johnny Taylor, What About My Love? What I'm trying to say here, people, is that we are one. We have different cultures, different tribes, different traditions. But we are one humanity. We are one human family. And we have to look out for ourselves. Contact your political representatives and tell them that they need to vote against that bill, the big, beautiful bill, and represent you, not represent rich people. May Allah continue to bless us with the light of understanding. Assalamu alaikum.